Hall of Fame in a little while. So basically what we do, we started in the NRL era, and each year of retiring players from 1998 onwards, we'll go through the players who retired and try to induct 3 Hall of Famers from that class. You can go back and listen to, I think, episode 42 was our last Hall of Fame class, where we named all the Hall of Famers. I'm not going to go back to 1998, but...
They're also on the YouTube.
On the YouTube. We actually couldn't induct anyone in 2005. We were on the fence about a lot of players. So basically, as a result, we've got a growing shortlist of previously retired players to weigh up, along with this year, the 2006 retiring class. I don't think we officially ruled out Brian Fletcher and Luke Ricketson last time, but I would like to.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Which leaves us with a shortlist of Darren Smith, Terry Hill, Ryan Girdler, Nathan Blacklock, and Brett Mullins. I dare say we might not get to that shortlist tonight because there's some very good careers to weigh up from the retiring class of 2006.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for me that we don't cut anyone out of the catchment shortlist rashly.
Yeah.
We had a good think about Fletcher and Ricketson, both great careers, but maybe just a tad short of the HOF.
So as I always do, before we actually go through the list of players, I like to have a look at the landscape of that year. So looking at 2006, big shock to me, I found a story. The price of beer at the SFS in 2006. A schooner of beer, $4.70. I think they're up to about $8 now.
Was that sourced from Phil Rothfield's database of pricing? But was that in a context of this is outrageous or?
Oh, the outrage was that the members could get it for $4.50.
Oh my God!
Hey, 20 cents was a lot of money back in those days.
Always focusing on the big issues, rugby league.
So the big story of that year was the Russell Crowe and Peter Holmes of Court taking over Souths. I've read a lot of articles in the last couple of days about that takeover and struck with a few thoughts. One, how well that worked and how much it was the right decision. Despite all the heartache at the time and the doubts as to whether it would work and the missteps we've seen since, such as, Nathan Tinkler.
Well, I don't think anyone really was casting doubt except for George Piggins. Everyone thought it was a good idea, from what I remember. They
needed 75% of South members to vote for it, and they only just got it. And apparently there was some last-minute backroom dealing that got it over the line. Piggins was blindsided because he thought he had the votes.
I remember this well because I was living in Coogee, as does George Piggins, and the local Woolies lady was a South fan. I used to chat to her about footy, and I asked her the day it happened, and she was going to renounce her membership. I predict she didn't do that. But.
No, well, I hope she didn't. Another thing that struck me, George Piggins, the ultimate wartime consigliere.
Oh,
yeah. And I feel really bad for the bloke, but didn't really have success as a coach or, running the club. A few Phil Blake seasons here and there, but suddenly Russell Crowe comes in, makes them relevant almost from the start, delivers a premiership, 8 years later.
He gave them credibility and he gave them stability. Russell Crowe's a winner.
Yeah.
Oscar winner, for Christ's sakes.
But where I feel sorry for Piggins is you had all these blokes, the Andrew Denton types, that kind of swanned in at the time they were kicked out. I know they were all fans, but, I don't think they were turning up week to week.
Yeah,
they didn't have anything to do.
That's right.
Formed this group 14, this big power brokers and heavy hitters. You had Anthony Albanese, businessman, Mikey Robbins, biggest hitter of all, who came in and, we're group 14. They disbanded once South won the court case, but then they reformed at the time of the vote to have some influence.
Then that's the famous radio stoush between Piggins and Denton, where he said he'd sit Denton on his ass, which I applauded. But I wish you'd sit the Chaser boys on their ass as well with Denton, but I see what you're saying. Like, he's been there through thick and thin, and then you got a few Johnny come lately.
Yeah. And the last bit on the South thing, this hasn't really aged well. Danny Weidler talking about your mate Sean McRae, who got moved on from being coach in favour of Jason Taylor.
I should have checked in with the wife to see they're doing okay. But...
Weidler said, still at the Bunnies, owners Crow and Peter Holmes Accord are yet to receive a rap for appointing Philly Eels coach Jason Taylor at the Rabbits. It's a very smart move.
It would have been if it wasn't for the karate outfit.
This is what I want to bring up. Jason Taylor, is his own worst enemy. So there's the karate outfit on Mad Monday. And then at the time he was not given the job at Para and went to Souths. He at the Eels presentation dinner, he got up and gave a speech bagging out Dennis Fitzgerald for not giving him the job, saying that he had the support of all the players.
I remember he did very well at Para as a caretaker though.
Yeah.
He brought Hayne along.
Yeah. But I mean, Craig Coleman did very well as a caretaker.
Is the caretaker similar to the custodian at fullback?
The other big story that year, Wayne Bennett, this was the year that he almost went to the Roosters and then backflipped.
And this was the year that he backflipped based on his principles.
This is what I wanted to bring up. This is kind of where the rot started to set in for Wayne Bennett in terms of how he was talked about in the media. You had the previous year, the airport backdooring. Yeah. And then this happened. So apparently Wayne Bennett signed, sealed and delivered to go to the Roosters. And then suddenly it gets leaked to the press and Bennett comes out and says that he's not going now because it got leaked and it's against his principles for...
I mean, rugby league, a leak can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
And so I just reading some articles about it, and besides the leak, there was talk that there was all this bad press in Brisbane, and people were outraged and going off at him, which I don't think he would have been used to in Brisbane. There was talk that he was the negativity made him do a backflip because of what he was copying. Then the other rumour was that News Limited put the hard word on him and said, don't go because we're going to trash you in the press if you go.
God, I don't believe that. There's a lot of backflips lately, Wayne.
Yeah, so it's so funny because up to that point, it was kind of like Saint Wayne. He was always talked about as living this monk-like existence.
You had the Australian story, Rub.
Yeah.
You had all that going.
All right, this is just a couple of quick stories just for your benefit. Firstly, I'll just read this. The people you meet. While in San Diego on a fact-finding mission at the NFL Chargers, new Panthers coach Matthew Elliott and a posse from Penrith bumped into the Bulldogs Steve Folkes and Malcolm Node.
The old rugby league trope.
I think American tour companies should be putting out packages for rugby league coaches.
Did we have anyone go this off-season?
No, I didn't hear anyone.
I mean, surely they can just send a video of the facilities out. You don't need to go there anymore, do you? Here's where we train.
And the last story, you had some a bit of a blow-up between the present, at that point, Dragons and one of their old legends, Johnny Chook Raper, who had some bad words about Trent Barrett. And who came to the defence of Barrett but one Anthony the Man Mundine. Mundine said this: let's face it, John Raper is yesterday's man. Yes, he's a club legend, but he's diminishing his status by making comments about a player like Trent. You see, Trent and all the players don't value his comments. The players respect Trent. They respect Mark Gasnier. Raper has no standing with the players in the side. He's a has-been. If he thinks he's so good, why doesn't he just pull the boots on and run around again?
Disrespectful.
And I think that's an idiotic comment from Mundine. But it's funny, we're talking about to Kevin Ryan and talking about how he saw it as a bit of jealousy on the part of the Dragons administration and players in the decade since they played. And I can understand there's a big weight of expectation and all the rest of it. But I kind of I can see the present players' point of view as well. that they're like constantly getting trashed and like told they don't measure up to this team that like won everything.
But that's what happens when you're an immortal. You have that right to say that.
Yeah,
it's the same as Noel Kelly saying about the Australian boys, apart from RCG and Mal.
Yeah,
they weren't that interested in his exploits.
But apparently in the dressing room, like Raper came out and said something along the lines of Barrett wasn't trying. And apparently he was like frozen out in the dressing rooms, like players were turning their back on him, and Barrett was like giving him daggers.
But I remember the thought at the time, people were thinking he's not playing very well for a guy.
Yeah.
I think just saying what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, I guess I can see how it would be hard as a current player to have to measure up to.
I get the past players bagging players, but Immortals is a different story. It's like Don Bradman says that your technique's not real good in cricket. You go, fair enough,
The other reason I wanted to bring up the Raper story was expressly for your benefit. This was the year that Stuart Raper got eventually axed as Sharks coach, and Ricky Stewart came in. When there was speculation about his coaching future, Johnny Raper came out and said, "I never comment on how my son is going as a coach. I'll never offer him advice. He doesn't need me having my say about him. Look at poor Scott Fulton and the things he went through with the lobster stuff this week. He had to live in his dad's shadow."
The lobster stuff.
I love the line after the lobster stuff. He had to live in his dad's shadow. Like, how does that manifest itself into like stealing lobster pots on the Central Coast with Terry Hill?
I know what Chook's trying to say there.
Yeah.
Come off a bit mangled.
But yeah, good year for Rugby League, 2006.
I remember it being a good year.
We'll turn to the Hall itself. Here's our long list. Players who retired that year didn't quite make the cut, but solid to very good careers all. I'll just go through them. Tony Grimaldi, Lee Hookey, Kylie Leilua, Glenn Morrison, Travis Norton, Clinton Tchaikovsky, Craig Smith, Paul Stringer, Ben Walker, Darren Albert, Michael Vella, and Scott Hill.
I was a big Scott Hill fan from Mariners onwards.
Yeah.
And I was a big Clinton Tchaikovsky fan.
Yeah. Tchaikovsky's automatic disqualification for leaving for rugby union well before his time.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Scott Hill, really, really good player.
Class.
Yeah.
Had time.
It's funny, like, Melbourne's just been like the Queensland team for the last decade, but you think of those early Melbourne teams, Scott Hill, Matt Geyer, Robbie Ross, Glenn Lazarus, like,
team.
It was a real New South Wales kind of team.
It was all Mariners based.
Yeah.
But when I think of Scott Hill, I think of the incident where he got hit in the head with the star picket in Foster.
I don't remember that one.
It wasn't a scandal because it wasn't his fault, but it was some sort of, I don't know, it was a barbecue just on the street, but someone hit him in the head with a star picket.
Glenn Morrison was one, when he came on the scene, especially in his early days with the Tigers, like, he really looked like he was going to be like a really good player.
He was one of the, in my view, a very good player, I thought, but in my view, a great Super League career. He had the Daly Cherry Evans and the Cooper Cronks about him.
Yeah.
The polished corporate answers.
Yeah.
He was working at the Lees Club. So you can't knock him for being like a nice guy.
No.
But it just seemed a bit like
he was a bit of a
sanitized.
I remember when Nathan Bracken came along in the cricket. I felt like
major Bracken vibe.
Yeah, but I really liked him as a player. Tony Grimaldi, like, I remember,
great player.
Yeah, such a good player. My memories of him aren't really as well. I remember him as a player, but I remember being in a pub one night in about 2004 or something. Watching the Dragons, and I happened to be there with. There was another bloke there who was a Dragons fan. We got to talking, and the Dragons were playing the Bulldogs, and he's gone, Tony Grimaldi, I went to school with him. He was the biggest Dragons fans ever. Now he's playing for the Bulldogs.
Like you can only play for your childhood club. Good tough player though, Grimaldi.
Yeah. Travis Norton, another one.
Classy player.
Yeah, very good. And yeah, otherwise, Darren Albert, Michael Vella, like rep players, solid players.
Darren Albert had a good career, and obviously that great try, unforgettable, legendary grand final moment. But I don't know whether his longevity was that good.
No, yeah, definitely not. Yeah,
beloved in Newcastle, like.
Well, why wouldn't he be?
But I mean, he went there now. He wouldn't be able to buy a beer.
Mm-hmm. I will turn to the shortlist itself. I think there's one automatic on this list, so we'll start with him, Shane Webcke. 12 years in the league, 254 games, played his entire career in Brisbane, won 4 premierships, played 21 Origins and 3 Super League Origins, 25 Test and 1 Super League Tests, 3 Dally M Prop of the Year in a row from 2000 to 2002, made the NRL 100 Greatest Players list, and in the Broncos 20 Best Players of the first 20 years.
Would you say he's the best prop since Lazarus?
Yeah. I was thinking about that today. I think it's Lazarus, some distance, Shane Webcke, and then I think there's daylight between Webcke and the next.
Just incredible career. I mean, they built the club around him.
And he wasn't flash. Like, he didn't stand out the way Lazarus did. But he was like just.
But was that confidence and integrity and all that sort of thing.
I was read a lot of articles about his, when he was retiring, just to look at what people were saying with him. The word that came up time and time again was uncompromising.
Yeah, that's the word.
And that was on and off the field. Like, would speak his mind, just real hard nut.
Real country boy.
Yeah.
Looked, 40 at 26?
Mm-hmm.
Amazingly. Yeah. Can't speak more highly about Webcke than that.
It's funny how he was like not flashy at all, but he stood out, and that's why I think we've had this debate like quite a few times about props and how it's harder to get in if you're not a flashy player in a position like a prop. But if you're that good, you stand out with just how good you are.
Well, the Fire Up Twitter account today, Brett Oden, the funniest account on Rugby League, he was complaining about the bias towards halfbacks in Dally M's selection today. And I've got to agree. Some of these seasons, he could have been up there for the Dally M.
Yeah.
Surely. I mean, like, he built the platform that the Broncos were winning on.
Yeah. But I guess it's just a hard thing to quantify, like... Yeah. I mean, I guess you can count meters and all the rest of it, but...
Well, they didn't really do that as much back then anyway. But, Tal Malala gets points now, but that's more of an edge sort of thing, isn't it? The middle forward is unloved.
Well, one thing I was thinking of today, because I was trying to think of, like, who's the next best prop after Webcke,
Harrigan?
Harrigan. Yeah, actually, yeah. Harrigan probably. But then I was thinking, like, in terms of current players, I'm like,
Scott.
That's the thing about Scott. Like, he's been...
Scott's like a mini Webcke.
Yeah. But in terms of, like, the players, some of the young players coming through, like, David Clemmer has a real shot if he keeps playing the way he is. Blokes like this. But then he plays half his games at lock. Like,
yes, this is the thing. Like, we haven't had that real thick, stocky prop.
Yeah.
They're kind of second rowers playing prop.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yeah. And then when we get to another bloke on this list... We're seeing it like a real influx of tweeners in the last decade. Players who like just seem to interchange between the front row and the back row.
Gallen.
Yeah.
But it's like Webcke couldn't play anywhere but prop.
Yeah,
He's a born prop.
Yeah. But yeah, do you have any reservations about putting him in the hall?
No, I don't have to insist.
Yeah, I think there's not much debate about Shane Webcke. So that's one spot filled. Next on the shortlist, Jason Croker. I'm sure you've got very fond memories of Croker. 16 years in the league, 318 games, played all his career at Canberra, won the premiership there in 94, 5 Origins, 5 Tests, no major awards, positionals or other awards.
Longevity is incredible. 318 games, very impressive, but also going from the backs to the forwards, Ruben Wiki-esque. Remember when he first came on the scene, he was a utility back, and next thing you know, he's the strongest guy in the world.
Yeah,
holding himself horizontal off the goalposts with his arms. Incredible career.
Yeah.
Great club man.
And it wasn't like Wiki where he just made his way into the forwards. He just kind of plugged in anywhere he was needed.
Yeah, played everywhere. I think that probably always hurts a guy when they're full utility like that.
Yeah. There's another bloke on this list I think we'll talk about as well with some of the same issues. But I think he's a, slam dunk for the Raiders Hall of Fame. I think ultimately, not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's close. But the 94 Kangaroo Tour where he missed out to Ferner. It was a split hair between those two. Ferner got the Clive Churchill. I think that sort of set him back a little bit in his rep career.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate because he really deserved to be on that tour. So did Ferner, but it's just one guy to miss out, didn't they? So I'll have to concede to you there. He's probably a whisker short, but impressive. Yeah,
and one of those players respected across the game. I don't think anyone would.
Yeah, everybody in the game loves him.
Yeah. So 318 games. What a career, but sadly short of the Hall. Next on the list, Matthew Gidley. 11 years in the league, 221 games. Played all his career for Newcastle. Didn't play the 97 grand final, but I'll give it to him because he was a staffer all that year and then backed up in 2001. 14 Origins, 17 Tests. Won Centre of the Year in 2000. Made the Newcastle Knights Team of the Year from 1988 to 2007. And the Newcastle Team of the Century, which there's some very good company there.
Absolutely. I got to say, I was always just thinking, this guy's a little bit, I always thought he's like a tad overrated. Why are we so on Gidley's thing? But then the more I think about it, he really wasn't. He used to perform at the highest level all the time in any venue, Origin tests.
Yeah.
And he just had sort of simple move set, but it was always effective.
It's funny because I always thought he was overrated as well, but I think you're right. The funny thing is the famous Gidley flick pass. How telegraphed was that?
Yeah, it always worked.
It always worked, always.
Up there with Freddie's step.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, you're right. Never let anyone down. Was a dangerous attacking player in those New South Wales teams.
Yeah. I mean, I've got concerns about our catchment here. We've got guys on the bench there that may be up there with him. Guys in the shortlist left over.
Well, because I think that the centres we have in our shortlist, we've really struggled with, and now throwing Gidley into the mix. So we've got Darren Smith, Terry Hill, Ryan Girdler, and now Matt Gidley.
They're different players, all of them.
They are. I think throwing Matt Gidley in this mix now makes me think that Ryan Girdler is looking more and more a remote chance of making the Hall. Yeah,
I think you'd call Gidley a more complete player than both of them,
and more runs on the board as well.
Yeah, because he was defensive. I wouldn't say powerhouse, but he's very solid defensively as a centre.
Yeah. Where would you put him? Because I know you're a massive Terry Hill fan.
I am, but in terms of stats, you'd have to put Gidley up there. But Terry Hill had more grand finals. They had better sides, I suppose. But
Terry Hill only won one grand final.
So did Gidley, right?
Well, as I said, I'm giving him the 97 because he was in that team.
Well, that's generous of you, being that he wasn't on the field. But, I'd have to say, gut feeling, Gidley's probably the better player than Hill.
Yeah. But then if you're talking numbers, Darren Smith has the best numbers of all of them.
Why would you put Gidley versus Smith?
That's where I can't I can't weigh these guys up. Darren Smith was no frills as they come.
Another guy whose utility value hurt him.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to have to put this out of the listeners because I want to see some defensive Darren Smith because he had a hell of a career.
Yeah. Let's leave Gidley on the back burner temporarily until we get to the end of this discussion.
I think
then we'll see where we put him.
Yeah.
Bloody good player, though.
This bloke we're going to talk about now, one of my absolute favourite players. I think in the very first episode of the Rugby League Digest, I talked about him. Ben Kennedy. 11 years in the league, 195 games, 3 clubs, Canberra, Newcastle and Manly. Won the 2001 Premiership, 13 Origins, 16 Tests, Won the 2006 Rugby League Players Association Player of the Year. Dally M Positionals in 2005 and 2006. Dally M Captain of the Year 2006. In the Knights Team of the Year 88 to 2007. And this speaks volumes considering he was there for 2 years. But in the Manly 60th anniversary Dream Team.
It really does. He's in 2 Dream Team, club Dream Teams.
Yeah.
And the way, the intangibles of him, the electricity you feel when you think of his best seasons, it's chills down the spine how good he was. And the fact that Joey rates him the best player he's played with just about.
Yeah.
There's no way they win that 01 grand final without him. That season, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I reckon he's a lock.
I'm so glad you say that, because when you look at his numbers, like, they're a bit underwhelming, like only 195 games.
That's the thing. This is the thing about intangibles versus accumulation.
Yeah.
Accumulation's impressive.
Yeah.
Jason Croker had the great accumulated career, but same amount of premierships. But you have to say Ben Kennedy was a better player.
Yeah, and in terms of chills, I'm getting them now.
Yeah.
As I haven't done for any other player we've talked about tonight. Sensational player.
Great Origin player.
Yeah. Sadly, wasted the first 3 years of his career playing shoot shield.
I know. Imagine that.
Yeah. But he had a bit of a turnaround as well, because it seemed like there were a few issues with him in Canberra.
Yeah.
A bit of alleged druggy night out with Brandon Pearson / Costin. Reports of him being a bit of a
lair.
A bit of a lair, not the most welcome presence around Canberra.
And he turned it into become a real leader of the game.
Yeah. Came to Newcastle, belted Joey. One of my favourite stories.
I reckon Joey in his heyday was asking for a belting.
How many people in that Knights team would have seen that and just been like, yes. And as the paper said at the time, doing that made Joey respect him more.
Too good, isn't it?
But yeah, I agree. I think he's a lock. I loved watching him play. The fact that he did it right to the end probably left a bit too early, really. But
better to go out earlier than late, I think.
Yeah.
Great career, legendary figure.
Yeah, love Ben Kennedy. Probably my favourite lock in my lifetime.
Yeah, him and Clyde for me.
Yeah. Okay, next, this is an interesting one. Adrian Morley.
I love Adrian Morley.
I do too.
Second only to Sticky Stewart.
Yeah. So 6 years in the league, 113 games, played all those 6 years at the Roosters, won the 2002 Premiership, 47 tests for England and Great Britain.
Incredible.
And this is, so obviously he has a career that predates and, postdates his NRL career. So I just put some of his English plaudits. So he won the Rugby League International Federation Prop of the Year in 2010, Super League Dream Team 98-99, and then back in 2009 and 2010 was named to the Leeds Rhinos Millennium Greats. Played until 2015, incredible.
An amazing career.
Yeah.
But he was playing for England and smashing Australian test teams before he was out here, making a real impact. He was the Burgess before Burgess.
Yeah.
And that 2002 Rooster side, that was built on him.
Yeah.
That aggression, that defence was all built on him.
And he really changed the perception of English players. I
Yeah.
don't think there'd be a Burgess or a Graham without Morley coming over.
Trailblazer. He brought back the old, Hanley and Andy Correa days.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
Awesome. Jonathan Davis.
Yeah. It's funny now, and so much of this comes from Morley. Now when an English player comes out, you're just expecting them to be a superstar, and if they're not, if you get a Sam Tompkins or Joe Williams or whoever, you're like, oh, he was disappointing,
Dan Sargent's on $500,000.
So yeah, obviously his NRL career was nominally too short for us to consider as a Hall of Fame, but I think we can kind of make an exception in a player like Morley's case.
He's got the intangibles in spades.
Yeah.
But he hasn't got the numbers.
He hasn't got the numbers, but this is what I wanted to throw to you. A career like his, a legend of the game as he is, someone who had a massive influence on Australian rugby league for the short time he was here. Does that overcome the fact that he doesn't really have the numbers that we've deemed Hall of Fame worthy?
I think it definitely does. Like it's hard to equate though. I mean, someone's played 18 seasons of NRL versus someone's played 6, then played 1,000 games of Super League and 47 tests. I wouldn't rule him out.
Yeah,
he has got a place. It's hard to tell a story of the game without him because that period of that early 2000s he was a major figure of that.
Absolutely.
If you talk about 02 and the other grand finals they made, you're talking about Morley.
Yeah.
Fittler and Morley.
One of the negative aspects of Morley was the amount of suspensions he copped. I think it was like 27 weeks over the course of his 6 years or something like that. His Roosters career ended when he was suspended for 7 weeks for kneeing Corey Hughes.
You can't just go around kneeing blokes in their head.
I loved his defence that he said, like, I didn't mean to do it as an accident. I just had a brain snap. It's like, well, that doesn't make it an accident. You deliberately need.
That's when brain snap was in the lexicon. But just a tough Northern English lad. Yeah. Man.
Yeah. Like, but I remember with some of those suspensions, there'd always be people coming out and going like, he's gonna get robbed out of the game. He's gonna have to go back to England because he can't play that style here. And it's like, well, yeah, you can't play that style here. So another bloke who I omitted from our long list, unfortunately, Craig Smith, who I loved. Yeah, great prop, but same thing. Like, it's like
flying knee butts.
I'm gonna have to like leave the NRL because I keep getting suspended. It's like, well, don't lead with your knees when you're running.
Yeah, no thought of changing the style to play within the rules, but just.
But yeah, loved Adrian Morley. I love that it was Graham Murray that brought him out because Graham Murray had coached him at Leeds.
Talk about a gift for Sticky, Jesus, ultimate gift.
But yeah, so it's a tough one to weigh up. So we'll leave it out there for this week. Our listeners, send us your thoughts on Adrian Morley.
Yeah. He's got a good chance as anybody in the catchment because he's got a major part of the game.
Yeah. As you can say, like you can't tell the story of rugby league without him. Struck fear into his opponent's hardcore.
Yep.
Yeah, incredible player. Matt Sing.
Loved him as a player.
Yeah, he's kind of like I'll read through his numbers. 14 years in the league, 275 games, 3 clubs: Penrith, the Roosters, and the Cowboys. Unfortunately, left the Roosters in 01. Should have stayed another year, so didn't win a premiership. 24 origins.
Very impressive.
Incredible. 12 tests. No major awards or positionals. He's just like the little engine who could.
But what about the origin break, 95 to 2000, and then come back for 03 to 05?
Yeah.
That's great.
And even like, he looked like the classic like ARL era origin player.
Yeah.
But he held his own like all throughout.
I think what sums up his career is this: there's no Dally M's, no positionals, no other awards, but he had 275 games across 3 clubs, and he made every club he played at a better club. In attitude, in consistent performance, and not just consistent. Like it was a handful.
He was a weapon.
Yeah, and he was part of that North Queensland build when they started to get the momentum. He was a major leader up there.
Absolutely,
him and Bowen,
Yeah,
and then bringing in young Thurston at the time. Beautiful career.
Yeah, loved him as a player. He just seemed like a really good bloke as well. Where do you see him in terms of Hall of Fame?
I think he might be a little bit short, but he's got killer origin credentials. Never had a bad origin either, for that matter. 12 tests is nothing to be sneezed at.
Yeah, considering some of the competition.
I don't think he can be ruled out.
I don't think he can either. Like when I first put his name there, the reason why you might rule him out despite the numbers is just saying his name, alongside the likes of Webcke, Kennedy, Morley. He doesn't quite fit.
But he also, anyone that heard his name, everyone to a man would say, good player.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's just go through the intangibles with him. Can you tell the story of rugby league without him? Yes, but then there's the whole ARL thing. Like that kind of,
Well, he's not exactly the face of the ARL.
He's not the face of the ARL, but he's one of the first handful of players I think of in that Queensland team.
I think you're clutching at a long bow there. But,
probably.
Yeah.
Does he pass the grandkids test? No. Did he strike fear into his opponents? Somewhat, yeah. Was he iconic? No. He had the headgear, but no. So short on intangibles.
But he has got another intangible, which is like feel good. When you hear his name, you feel good about the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which, that counts for something. So I wouldn't rule him out tonight. But,
no, me either.
Yeah.
It's just one of those guys, when you hear it, you go, very good player. I think you consider him a better player than Croker.
Yes.
Just because of the Origin career and the Test career was at a higher level.
Yeah.
And saying that Croker was behind a lot of better players.
Actually, like if you were building a team from scratch and you could have either of those players at their peak, who would you pick first?
Well, probably Croker for utility value.
That's what I was going to say. I think but besides the utility value, I think Croker offers something more in terms of like.
Well, there's a different apples and oranges, because one's a 3/4 strike weapon, and the other one's a leader and sort of tough guy. Yeah. Hard. 24 Origins, 12 Tests.
Yeah.
The 3 clubs that he helped. Never had a really bad season ever.
Yeah.
275 games is crazy.
The last player on the list, another one of my favourites, Sean Timmins. 12 years in the league, 210 games. Played for Illawarra from 94 and then St George Illawarra after the merger. No premiership, sadly. 9 Origins, 9 Tests. Won the 2004 Lock of the Year and the Illawarra Team of the Century. Again, like a pretty solid team there.
Very good player. Very good utility again. To come back from those knees was incredible.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't run for a couple of
years.
Yeah.
he was out of the game for like 18 months or something like that. I think the knee ultimately kills his Hall of Fame candidacy. I think we're talking about him as a Hall of Fame player if he wasn't robbed of much of his prime.
2004 Lock of the Year is very impressive. A lot of good locks were in that era.
Yeah.
He had a good Origin career too.
Yeah.
Players like to play with him.
Yeah.
He had that Origin moment where he won the...
What a drop kick.
Yeah. He's probably a little bit short, but I have him any side that I was picking.
But yeah, 13 seasons, only had 6 with 20-plus games.
Yeah,
cruel. And his absolute prime, he played 12 games in 2000, 0 games in 01, 19 games in 2002, 15 games in 2003. Think of all the Origins he's robbed there. Think of he could have helped out that pretty good Dragons team if he was there for more of those games. We might be talking about him as a premiership winner. It's funny because I do think the utility hurts players in terms of weighing them up as a Hall of Famer.
It does. It's almost like a one club player thing. It makes them seem more special. The one position player seems more special.
Because it's really hard to weigh up. Because Sean Timmins was never the best centre. Certainly never the best 5'8". I'd say he went close to being the best lock at times. I think that was his best position.
Yeah, he's a great lock. He's a lock in the centre. I didn't really love him at 5'8".
No. But he did the job.
Did a great job there.
Yeah.
As a extra forward, really.
Yeah.
A running 5'8".
Yeah.
But maybe a bit short just on numbers there, but bloody good player. I put him below Croker and Sing.
Yeah. In that Dragons team, that era, one I look back on with a lot of pain and sadness. I think he was my favourite player from that era.
210 games is still good.
Yeah.
That's a good career.
Really good player, but I think ultimately I think we've got to rule him out.
Yeah, unfortunate.
So that's the Hall of Fame. So just
two automatic selections.
2 automatics in Webcke and Ben Kennedy. So we've kept alive Matt Gidley, Adrian Morley, and Matt Sing, and we've got to weigh them up with the aforementioned Darren Smith, Terry Hill, Ryan Girdler, Nathan Blacklock, and Brett Mullins.
Getting tougher now, the catchment.
Yeah.
God almighty.
We've got to make a decision about some of these blokes at some point.
Well, I don't want to be ruling guys out of the Hall of Fame.
No.
The three selection numbers come back to haunt us, I think.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. I think it's the best thing we ever did.
It's kept it very exclusive.
Yeah.